Okay, good morning, everybody. As we continue the Sunday morning. Now it's Yom Tov today. It's busy, so we'll learn some Chassidut as we prepare ourselves for the Yom Tov coming up, the holiday of Shavuot, which starts tonight and continues until Tuesday night. I'm sorry. I want to invite everybody who can come to the learning tonight at 11:30, starting at 11:30 to around 3:30. We're going to have a learning here tonight. Chabad, everybody's welcome, and especially tomorrow to come to hear the Ten Commandments. And on Tuesday there's Yisker, so it's a busy Yom Tov, and especially in this Yom Tov that we are obligated to have. 2 meals almost. You have to have a dairy meal and a what do you call it? A dairy meal and a meat meal. So it's a lot of preparation. I don't want to take away from your preparation for Yom Tov. So I'm going to do this quickly. We'll learn. Okay, I want to start off with Hayom Yom. There's a beautiful Hayom Yom today. The Rebbe on Erev Yom Tov, he says as follows. He writes as follows in the Hayom Yom, the day book that the Rebbe wrote to be able to learn, to be able to be inspired every day. He wrote a book called Hayom Yom, the day to day. So he writes as follows: on the eve of Shavuot in the year 1797, the Alter Rebbe, the one who wrote the Tanya that we learn every Sunday, taught a following teaching on Erev, on the eve of Yom Tov. He taught a following teaching, and the teaching was on the verse. The verse says, when God gave the Torah to the Jewish people, He told them the verse: "Sanctify yourself today and tomorrow, and cleanse your garments." Tell the Jews to cleanse their garments, because on the third day I'm going to come down on the mountain. So he says sanctify them today. He tells Moshe Rabbeinu 2 concepts. He says, you should sanctify them today and tomorrow, whatever that means. And tell them they have to go to the mikveh. They have to purify themselves. So that the Alter Rebbe said as follows. He explained the meaning as follows. He says, sanctify them today and tomorrow is done from above. That God says, I'm going to sanctify you on these 2 days before the giving of the Torah. And they shall cleanse their garments. That was a command to every Jew that he must do himself. To cleanse your garments, to purify, to cleanse yourself. That you should be able to receive sanctity. That needs to be done, every person on his own. This was the entire teaching of the Alter Rebbe. This is what he said on Erev Shavuot in the year 1797. Later on, 2 generations later, the Tzemach Tzedek, the 3rd Lubavitcher Rebbe, who was a grandson of the Alter Rebbe, said as follows. He elaborated it on the teaching of his grandfather. He said, sanctify them was said to God, to Moshe Rabbeinu. God, if you listen to the verse, it says, God says to Moses, sanctify them. God is commanding Moses to sanctify them. And that's the obligation of a tzaddik, a righteous man, in every generation. His obligation as a leader of the Jewish nation is to bring sanctity to the Jewish people. Sanctify them. So the Moshe Rabbeinu in every generation has the capability to sanctify today and tomorrow. They have the capability, the tzaddik. But for this is needed, and they shall cleanse their garment. But the problem is, the Nasi, the tzaddik, the Moshe Rabbeinu of every generation can bring sanctity. But the washing of the garments, the cleansing of one's own garments, which is what is the garments we learn in Chassidut. What in Kabbalah? What is the garments of a person? When Torah asks the Jew to cleanse his garments, so we learned in Tanya. The Alter Rebbe explains that the garments are machshava, dibra, maisa, thought, speech, and action. That's the garments of our godly soul. That's the garments. So the way the godly soul is going to come within our body, the way we're going to bring the sanctity within our body is through us cleansing our thought, speech, and action. This must be done each person on his own. This must be done each person on his own. So that's the Hayom Yom of today. We are holding on the third chapter of the second part of Tanya, the Shara Yichud Be'emunah. And before we start that chapter, I want to connect it to the Erev Yontiv, the beginning of the Yontiv, Erev Yontiv, that we are holding today on Erev Shavuot. And what is the beauty of Shavuot, according to Chassidut, which is, I believe, as we're going to open up we'll learn the Tanya, you'll see that the Alter Rebbe says the same thing. What is the beauty of Shavuot?
Rabbi, I have a question. When it says cleansing, does it refer to men going to mikveh?
Yeah, that's a simple meaning.
Okay, and is the mikveh open today?
The mikveh is open today, but you need to for a Chabad mikveh investor, you need to have a fob.
Need to have what?
A fob. Talk to me after this class. So
okay.
The concept of cleansing is going to the mikveh. That's a simple verse. But in the Yom Yom, it's not talking about talking about the spiritual cleansing. That one is obligated to cleanse his clothes, his garments, which actually the Torah says cleanse their garments, which is the concept of cleansing your machshava, dibur, maisi, your thought, speech, and action. So let's go back to, I want to learn with you what is the concept of Chassidus, the accomplishment of Matan Torah. What are the accomplishments of Matan Torah? So I'm going to share with you, first of all, the simple verse in the Torah itself. I want to share with you the simple verse in the Torah itself. So this is the Torah, when the Torah wants to tell us what happened at Matan Torah, what happened at the giving of the Torah. So it's in chapter 20. We're going to read it tomorrow in Shul. But this is what the Torah says, what happened at the giving of the Torah. Verse in chapter 20, verse number 15. And all the people saw the voices, and the torches, and the sound of the shofar, and the smoking mountains. And the people saw, and they trembled, and they stood from afar. And then the next verse, before we go into interpretation of Rashi, go to the next verse, verse 16. By Yermel Moshe, and they said to Moses, Daber ata imanu, you should speak with us. V'nishma, we will hear. V'yedaber imanu lekim, let God not speak to us. Penamus, if not, we will die. Now, what happened? What happened over here? So we know the Medrash says that when God only said the first two commandments, the Jewish people only heard the first two commandments from God himself. What happened was, when it got to the first commandment, Parach Nishmas, and the Medrash says Parach Nishmas, and they died. You'll see what Rashi says happened to them. And they had to be brought back to life. And then they said the second commandment. And the Parach Nishmasam, the Jewish people, died. Or you'll see what Rashi says, what happened to them. The Pshut Tzimika, a certain simple meaning of the verse. And they had to be brought back again. And therefore they said, but before the third commandment, they said, wait, stop. Let you say the commandment, and we will listen from you. So what happened? I mean, that's why the Rashi, there's another Rashi, it says, Torah tziva lanu Moshe. The verse says, the Torah that Moshe Rabbeinu taught us. What does that mean? God gave the Jewish people the Torah. What does it mean, the Torah that Moshe Rabbeinu taught us? Because the Torah equals up to 611. 611 commandments, we heard it through Moshe Rabbeinu. We heard God's commandment through Moshe. 2 commandments, the 612 to 613, is the commandments, not the number. I'm not talking about the number in the sequence, but the 2 commandments were said by God Himself. And as Moshe Rabbeinu continues, it says, why did God say that? Why did the Jewish people have to hear the Yiras Hashem? They had to hear the first 2 commandments by God Himself. What happened? What happened that brought about that the Jewish people passed out, died, according to the Medrash, or I'll see what the Rashi says? That what happened? So let's go first to the last Rashi over here in this verse. Vayamdu merachik. So Rashi says they were drawn backward 12 mil. They ran away. When God said the first verse, they ran away. They all ran away. That's what Rashi learns it. The ministering angels came and assist them to bring them back. So on one hand, they ran 12 mil. They ran a couple of miles away. The whole camp size. They ran away. Pashut ran for their lives. And the angels had to come and say, no, come back. And then God said another, and the Pashut ran away. As I said, that according to the Medrash, actually, Pashut Nishmasam, they died. Pashut simply died. And God had to resurrect them twice, bring them back to life. Why? What happened? What happened? So Rashi says, look at this Rashi. The second Rashi in this verse. Royim es hakoiles. The Rashi says, I'm going to underline the Rashi, because this is a beautiful Rashi. Royim es hanisha, she efshe lidis b'makamacha. They saw what was audible. Understand what this means? They saw what was audible, which is impossible to see elsewhere. Royin esa nishma. The Jewish people had a revelation on Mount Sinai that has never happened again. Royin esa nishma. What is usually heard, they saw. Meaning they had a revelation of God. Look at the next Rashi. Es hakoiles yotzim mipi hagvura. Emanating from the mouth of God. If you can imagine such a thing. They saw the voice emanating from the mouth of the Almighty. This is a powerful revelation. That's why either they ran for their lives, or as the Medrash says, they actually died. Which Chassidus means, that Kolois HaNefesh. They Pashut had what happened to Aaron's sons, that their souls left their body. It's exactly what happened at Matan Torah. Their souls had a revelation that took them away from their body. So this was the power of Matan Torah. The question was, as a Jewish people, ask that question. Why would God do that? Why would God bring about a revelation that would basically put them in such either in the simple without the medrash, such a fear that they had to push and run a couple of miles. And they had to bring back. So God, Moshe Rabbeinu answers them in the verse 17. It says, because God wanted to put you in the aspect of to realize that this is only to fear God himself. There's nothing to fear in the world. But the Abish himself, that's the real concept of fear. Every other fear that you have is an imaginary fear. True fear, true trepidation is the fear of the Abishter. What's one of the teachings of Al Shem Tov? He said, I've learned from my father at the age of 5 that my father told me I had to fear but God himself. So I'm going to teach you another very important medrash that the Lubavitcher Rebbe would always say and speak about in these times of Matan Torah, the giving of the Torah. And it would always give this analogy, the medrash's analogy. The medrash, this is again Chabad.org. I found it in the medrash, and this is the medrash that the Rebbe would always say about what was the accomplishment of Matan Torah. The Medrash explains the significance of the event as in the following parable. So the Medrash wants to give you a parable to understand what happened at Matan Torah. Once there was a king who decreed the people of Rome are forbidden to go down to Syria. And the people of Syria are forbidden to go to Rome. Likewise, when God created the world, he decreed the heavens are to God and the earth is given to man. But when he wished to give the Torah to Israel, he rescinded his original decree. That means for over 2,000 years, the world was in this decree that the upper worlds cannot come down to the lower spiritual. It means upper and lower means spiritual. The spiritual worlds cannot come down to the physical worlds, meaning that it cannot penetrate the physical worlds. The world is too dense for that spirituality to be able to reveal in it, or that the physical should be a vessel and a conduit for the spiritual. It is not possible. So the lower realms may have ascended. So this was the breakage of the decree that the lower realms may ascend to the higher realms, and the higher realms may descend to the lower realms. I mean, the physical can elevate itself to the spiritual, become the vessel, and become the conduit for the spiritual above. And the spiritual will be able to come within this physical. And the Torah says that I myself will begin. God says, I'm not going to wait for the physical to come up. I'm going to come down. Ani hamaschil, that's the wording. I will start off the process. And it's written, God descended on the Mount Sinai. And then it says, and Moses said to go up to God. That is the way the Medrash explains Matan Torah. And the Rebbe would explain this, that according to Chassidut, this is very powerful teaching. This is a very powerful teaching of the concept of what you understand when it says that tomorrow, Hashem, starting for tonight, tomorrow we're going to reenact the giving of the Torah. Yom Ha'elu, these days, Niskarim are remembered, V'nasim, and they are done. So we are going to basically reenact the giving of the Torah. We're going to try to reenact the giving of the Torah, which is the concept that the world is ready for this revelation, for what the world is ready for revelation, and we're ready to elevate the world. God says, I'm going to be the one who's going to begin. I'm going to come down the mountain. That's the power of Matan Torah, revelation in the world, the unity between the world and God. God was always united with the world, but it was a one-way event. It was a one-way thing. It was a one-way. God Himself was not two to tango. It was one way. God doing what He wants with the world, because the humanity didn't have the capability to elevate itself, to become closer, to actually transform this physical world. Matan Torah accomplished that a yid, a human being, can take this physical world and actually make it holy. To bring holiness in the physical. Not only to just be a good person, but to be a holy person. To be a godly person. To ultimately take the physical, my physical body, my physical home, my environment, my mitzvah that I do, take it and transform yourself. The Rebbe showed a beautiful video last night, and you should watch it. It's on my Facebook. Last night's Havdalah services, at the end, we showed the living Torah of the Rebbe. The Rebbe speaks about the power of tefillin. That the Eibishter says that when Jews put on tefillin, they bring about a holiness upon them that the rest of the world recognizes. Torah says, you shall put on tefillin v'yorim mimeka, and the world will be bring a fear upon them. And therefore he begged Yidden before the 1967 war to put on tefillin. Get Jews to put on tefillin. Because by putting on tefillin, the pasuk says, the verse says, God says. It's not what I say. It's what God says. God says that by putting on tefillin, a Jew putting on tefillin anywhere in the world, he brings about elevation of the Jewish nation. And not only elevation of the Jewish nation, but elevation of the Jewish nation in the eyes of the world. So it affects the world. Tefillin affects the world, whether you see it or not. That's what we're missing today. We're missing today the capability to see it. The capability to put the dots together and to say, you know what? Look, my tefillin affected the world. Yeah, beautiful. Every Saturday night, you should come either on Zoom or watch it on my Facebook. On my personal Facebook, I put it the Sikh of the Rebbe. It's beautiful, beautiful stuff. Every Friday, Jem puts together a beautiful project every Saturday night. We show it. Beautiful, beautiful thing. So the Rebbe said that it's going to affect the world. As the Rebbe would always say, in the name of the Tzemach Tzedek, Trach gut vet sein gut. That even thinking good affects the world. That's what Matan Torah did. Matan Torah did that we as humans have the capability to affect the world. We're not just here as robots. We're not just here as doing nothing. Power. I'm going to talk in the positive, because selfless or whatever goes in the positive, goes in the negative. So until we're in Golos, we're in exile, so everything is positive and negative. And right now, our thought and our speech affects the world in a positive way. Our action surely affects the world in a positive way. And we have the capability to transform the world. And we should. We should not lose the opportunity. And that's why we celebrate the Holiday Shavuos, as the Rebbe would say, to rededicate ourselves to that commitment. Just like the Yidden did that commitment 3,000 years ago, we come together on Shavuos to rededicate ourselves to that commitment. To the commitment to learn Torah and to the commitment to do mitzvahs. Every mitzvah we can do. We're going to recommit ourselves because we want to elevate the world and we want to bring God to the world. And they go together. The elevation of the world and bringing God to the world are the same thing that happens simultaneously. Through us rinsing out the garments, through us doing the mitzvah, we connect the Eibishter to the world. That's what the Yidden saw. A revelation of God in the world, which we at this present time are not capable. We're incapable of seeing it. We're in Gullus. We're incapable of seeing this revelation due to many technical issues that don't give us the capability. But we really need to thank God that we don't have the capability, because at this present time, if God would reveal himself, as the Alter Rebbe says in the Tanya, as we're going to learn right now, we would become nullified. And that's what happened at Matan Torah. We would become nullified, because actually the Yidden didn't have mitzvahs yet. Why did the Jews then were not capable, even they were totally not capable? And God revealed himself, and they died, according to the Medrash. Or according to Rashi, they ran 12 mil, a couple of miles, ran for their lives. Imagine millions of people running from all sides. But the fear of God was revealed. They had a revelation. They weren't ready. They weren't ready. Today we're much more ready, because we have mitzvahs. We've been doing mitzvahs for thousands of years. We've been learning Torah for thousands of years. We've been doing mitzvahs for thousands of years. That's why Siddur says when Mashiach comes, we'll be ready for revelation, because we cleansed the world. We elevated the world. We elevated ourselves. Still need a little more push, the Rebbe says. Expression of the previous Bav Rebbe, who puts in the Kneplach. We are cleansing the last buttons that of the garment. We're cleansing the last buttons. We've cleansed the world. The Jewish people have cleansed the world through their own self-sacrifice and everything else that the Jewish people went through in the last couple of thousand years. We're cleansing the buttons. We're coming to the last dreg of the pot, as we see. Cleansing the last schmutz that we have to deal with in this world. And the Yidden are ready. And we made the world ready. Everything is revealed. Everything, the emes is there. So even if people want to say the opposite today, the emes is open. That's the beauty of technology. And ultimately, the Eibishter, God, the Gemara says, God's going to say to the nations of the world, you knew the truth. But you denied it even in knowing the truth. So hundreds of thousands of years later, hundreds of years before, people can say we didn't know the truth. We're living in a small little world. Why do we know what's going on in the world at large? Today, the world, everything is known. Nobody can hide behind ignorance. The world is known. The world knows the truth. They want to deny the truth. That's their truth. That's their free choice. When Mashiach comes, they'll say, "Oh, we didn't know." You did know. Yohanim said, "Did know." Everybody knows the emes. But it's also important to us as Yidden. But Baruch Hashem, the truth has been revealed in the world. The Yidden, knowledge is there, learning is there. You only need to go and learn it. You only need to educate yourself. You only need to go and learn more. Learning never ends. Tonight we're going to sit and learn a whole night. You're supposed to. That's the way tonight. Whether you're going to come to Chabad or wherever you're going to be, you should do it at home. Sit and learn a whole night. Getting ready for Matan Torah. How can you go to sleep at night and be ready for Matan Torah, receiving the Torah, revelation of godliness in the world, if you're not going to sit and learn the entire night? So my friends, this is really the beauty of Pipsidis of Matan Torah, what God wanted, what God did. Actually, God did. God revealed himself to the Jewish nation. Never, ever was there such a revelation since Matan Torah. And that's what we're waiting for again. We are waiting for again revelation of Matan Torah. The difference is, the Rebbe would say, that before the Jewish people were not ready. Today we are ready. Today we are ready. We're ready for revelation. Nobody's going to run anywhere. We're going to be able to handle revelation of godliness because of the avodah, because of the service that we have done in Galus today. Through our avodas Hashem, our service to God, our mitzvahs that we have done and continue to do, we are going to be ready for that concept. Be'ezrat Hashem. So now let's go to the third chapter of the Alter Rebbe, which I think we'll be able to understand the third chapter of the Alter Rebbe in a more clearer understanding, as I believe will explain to you what happened at Matan Torah and revelation of God, and ultimately to the physical reality, what happened at that time, and what happens today. Okay, so let's go to the Alter Rebbe. Let's learn the Tanya. And we're going to go to Shara Yichud V'Amuna. We're going to the third chapter. That's where we are holding in the Tanya. Alter Rebbe is explaining that the activating forces of the Creator must be constantly being vested within creation. In essence, the Alter Rebbe in chapter 2 said if God would stop creation, it would go to nothing. And therefore, God continues to creation. This chapter, the Alter Rebbe is talking the positive way. That we have to look at it in the positive way. And thank God, God continues to create the world. Constantly, God continues to create the world. And we have to think about that. That there's a concept of the will of God to create the world. And the word of God within the world on a constant basis. So the Alter Rebbe, let's just learn it inside. Now following these words of truth concerning the nature of creation, namely that the activating force must be constantly be vested in the created beings and creates them from nothing, ex nihilo, from nothing to something. Every discerning person will understand clearly. He will understand clearly that every creature and being, every created entity, even though it appears to have an existence of its own, it's really considered to absolutely not and nothingness. Anything that needs somebody else, something else to give it its existence, then that thing is nothing to the thing that needs to give it an existence. If I need something to give it myself an existence, so then the something that gives me existence is my existence. That is the existence. I am just a recipient of that existence. So without that, I am basically nothing. So really, what am I? The thing that gives me existence. That's who I really am. Because if I'm nothing without that, then I am not that again. Then the thing that gives me the existence is my existence. So whatever you want to call that, you can call it neshama, soul, which according to Chassidus, according to Kabbalah, your neshama is a chelek elakam imal mamash, is a part of God. So it's God. So it's ultimately God. So ultimately, you have to come back to God. That the existence of myself, who I am, what I am right now, my existence is God. And without God, I would not exist. So therefore, if I put the two things side by side, God and Zalman bukiet, I am nothing to God because God exists without me, and I can exist without God. So I am secondary to my creator, to the entity that gives me my existence. The sad thing is that we really understand this when we get chas v'sholom sick, chas v'sholom. When we realize that life is not, I have no control over life. I have no really control over what is real life and the opposite of life. That's why it's the interpretation. When King Solomon says, "Akol hevel avolim," we translate all but a vanity, but really the translation, it's all but a breath. Without my breath, cannot breathe, chas v'sholom, God forbid. Then what? Then the whole nothing. Life is nothing. The whole life is over. So really, life is but a breath. Life is but the breath that God breathed within my soul, within my body. He breathed within me a breath of life, which is my neshama. Without my neshama, I am nothing. That's what the Jewish people saw. They saw the neshama, their bodies died. They saw the truth, they couldn't handle that truth. It was just too powerful. Roin esanishma. They saw what is usually heard. They saw what you usually learn now, what you're learning now. They saw it. Again, just imagine if you would see it right now. Wow, how it will affect you. It would totally most probably, you'll probably go crazy. You would start running. It would be too powerful for me. In relation to the activating force which creates it and breathes in his mouth, which is within it, continuously calling it into existing and bringing it into absolute nothingness into being. That's the truth. That's where we started. We started really, the table is not a table. The table is really the molecules that are in the table. It's not really a table. Yeah. You want to ask a question? The reason that all things created and activated appear to us as an existence. Well, is why do I think this is a table? Why do I think that I am who I am? Self-subsisting and tangible. I think I'm not a creation of, I'm not an existence of God. My existence is not God. My existence is my body. My existence is my physical body. The existence of who I am. We fail to see the divine activating source. That's the problem, which is a true reality of any creating being. Why don't we see the real emes? Why don't we see the real truth? And the answer is simple. Is that we do not comprehend nor see with our physical eyes the power of God and the breath of his mouth, which is the created things. We don't see it. Imagine if, however, our eye were permitted to see and to be able to lahasi, even to comprehend the life force and spirituality, which is in every created thing, you know what would happen? Is flowing into it from that in which proceeds from the mouth of God and his breath. As we say, the breath of God is in our body. Then the physical, material, and the tangibility of created things would not be seen by our eyes at all.
Rabbi,
That's
is that,
why, let me finish the one more. That's why I mentioned before the Rashi says Royin es anishma. Actually, the words in Rashi, we go back to the Rashi says Royin es anishma. They saw what was audible. Now, the Rashi, this is a Mechilta, this is a Gemara. Shimon Bar Yochai actually said this. Shimon Bar Yochai adds a couple of words. He doesn't say the whole Gemara, Rashi. It's Royin es anishma, Mishayin es anida. That's the ending of Rab Shimon Bar Yochai's statement. Royin es anishma, they saw what is heard, and they heard what was seen. So the Medrash adds another to as you see, it actually brings from the Mechilta, it's a Gemara, that the Gemara says in the name of Rab Shimon Bar Yochai that Royin es anishma, they saw what was heard, and they heard what is seen. What does that mean? They heard what is seen. Suddenly, everything that they see became a heard thing. The whole thing flipped over. What they usually see with their eyes became heard. It was irrelevant to them. It became something that is heard. And what was usually heard became seen. Suddenly, the spirit, meaning that the spirituality became important, and the physicality became secondary, became bottled, nullified itself to the spiritual side of them. That's what happened in Matan Torah. Seen what is heard, they saw what is usually heard, saw it with their eyes, and what usually seen became something that is heard. Yeah, what's your question?
Rabbi, is that why they became nullified?
Yeah,
and they all died?
That's what happened.
Because it was all becoming one. It was all mixed. In other words, everything, the impact, everything was mixed together. And then therefore they were nullified.
Correct.
Because there was no separation between the physical and the spiritual.
Look at the word of the Alter Rebbe. Look at the word of the Alter Rebbe itself. When you have that situation, in a situation where the Gashmis is not ready for the spiritual revelation of spirituality, what happens? Look at the words of the Alter Rebbe. That's what happened. Whatever the Alter Rebbe says over here is exactly what happened. For this, the physicality is completely nullified. That's what happened. The spirituality became nullified in relation to the life force and the spirituality which is within it. Bittul. Now, you should know that in Chassidus, there's two things. Because the question you might ask, are you ready for that now? We're not ready for that now, right now. I mean, well, we are ready. Mashiach should come right now. But we need to first do bittul ayesh. There's two bittles, two nullifications. Bittul ayesh, the nullification of ego. Bittul b'metzius. That's what the expression I think that we used right now. Bittul b'metzius, yes. Batul b'metzius. You see that Hebrew words? Which in English they say completely nullified. Very hard word to translate in English. B'metzius. Bittul b'metzius means your metzius, your identity is your identity. It's a very hard word. They use the word completely. It's really not the right not the actual translation of metzius. Metzius is self. You lose self. Yourself becomes part of something else. Your true entity, which is your true self. That's why it's a very hard word to translate. You have the same word in Chassidus, when they want to explain what God is, Atzmos. How do you translate in Hebrew, in English, the word Atzmos, essence? It's really not the right word. It's also not, it's very hard, it's a hard word. Atzmos, the essence of the thing itself. Metzius. Who are you? That's why we struggle with who your Metzius. How do you say who you are? It's very hard to explain who you are. So we have Bittul Ayesh, ego. Yeah, that I can explain you what my ego is. I can maybe explain you what my ego is, what my desires, what my ego. I'm a Balgaiva. I have certain gaivas. I have certain characteristics, flaws. I have, okay, infinite. Metzius is not an infinite either. It's not a good translation. Metzius. That's why, again, in English, he translated it completely. Not really the right word. It's a very hard Hebrew word. So the essence of the thing, the essence. So again, so you have, that's why again, if Chassidus, you have Bittul Hayesh. That's really what all of us need to do. Bittul Hayesh. Nullify one's ego. Bittul, being secondary. That's the way we bottle Hayesh, egotistical, that we have ego. To nullify our ego. That's what tefillah is. The Rebbe would always say, tefillah we translate as prayer, but it's really not the right translation. The word for tefillah means to be tafel. That's the root word of tefillah. Tafel means secondary. Secondary. I pray to God. I pray to God. That means if I pray to God, means that I need God. That means I'm secondary to him. If I need you, I become secondary. I need you. I pray to God, therefore we always need God. That's why some people say, I'm a rabbi. When I asked him why you don't come to daven, he said, everything's fine. Everything's fine. I don't need to come. I don't need to have money. I'm have money. I don't need health. I'm fine. What am I coming to pray for if everything's fine? No. Because we always need God. Whether you have health, wealth, and everybody should have health and wealth and happiness. You don't come to God when you are lacking something. Oh, then I come to God when somebody's sick. Oh, we need to make a mishabera. We need to come and ask God. No, tefillah means I'm secondary. I can't exist without God. That's why I come to God, pray to God, because I can't exist. Not I can't have happiness or money or health. No, I don't exist. I'm tafel to the Eibishter. I'm tafel to God. And that's why it's important that I daven. God needs my prayer. I need prayer. I need to realize that my existence is God. And that's why the first thing in the morning I do is I try to daven. Because that's the first expression. My existence, whatever's going to happen in the day, is all bottle. I'm tafel to the Eibishter. So whatever happens today, whether it's good or bad, hopefully all good. Ultimately, it's all bracha v'na shamayim. That's why a Jew responds, Baruch Hashem. How was your day? Baruch Hashem. Not, oh, I had a successful day. I used my mind out, and my talent. I'm such a talent. Baruch Hashem. Thank God. Blessing. Baruch Hashem means it's a blessing by God. Today was a successful day, not because of my success. This was a bracha me'es Hashem. This success was a blessing of God. That's the way. She'ir shem shamayim shogar b'fiv. The Gemara says, so that the name of God should be part of your expression. A person, again, it should be shogar. It should be shogar. The right English word for shogar means it should be natural. It should be something that's easy in your mouth. It's easy to say I. It's easy. I, me. It should be easy to say God. Baruch Hashem. Be'ezrat Hashem. the help of God. So we all can connect everything that we do, every single day, every single thing we do. We say Be'ezat Hashem, Baruch, etc. Why? Because that's the truth. If it wasn't for the bracha of the Eibishter that I am alive, I couldn't do nothing. So that's really the truth. The truth is not. I'm not just trying to say something that's not true. It's a truthful statement. Without the Eibishter, don't go anywhere. Nothing happens without the bracha of the Eibishter. Gemara says, really, you should daven a whole day. Because every breath I take, I should daven a whole day. But okay, the Eibishter wants you to go Sheish Shem Tavid, 6 days a week, you got to work. You cannot daven a whole day. So therefore, at least daven in the morning. Wake up in the morning and thank God. But I know, I daven to God. I know my day is going to, I'm tuffle to the Eibishter, I'm bottled to God, and therefore, whatever happens is all b'dei Shemayim. A kol b'dei Shemayim. Everything is b'dei Shemayim. Whatever happens. And therefore, it's going to be a good day. Because whatever happens is b'dei Shemayim. I'm going to do my best, and it's going to be a complete day. Bezat Hashem. With the help of God. So, that's the way, that's tefillah, that's tofel. That is the concept of bittul hayesh. We're not talking about bittul metzias. Bittul metzias, nullifying ourselves, is a very, very hard thing to do. And the truth is, it's a very dangerous thing to do. You have to be ready to be bittul metzias. Self-nullification. Not everything that everybody can do. And as I said, it's a dangerous thing to do. And therefore, the Gemara gives an analogy of, 4 people went into the Pardes, went into a spiritual trance, and 3 didn't come out. Only one, Abi Kiva, Nichnas B'Shalom, went in peace, it came out in peace. It's not an easy thing to do. Something that a person needs to be ready to be able to be bittul b'metzias, self-nullification. And therefore, we're not obligated in self-nullification. We're surely obligated in bittul hayesh, in nullification of one's ego. One's ego needs to the biggest trouble that we have in the world today is yesh, is ego. And yesh, there's a positive in ego, but in general, the ego gets involved in everything that we do, and there needs to be bittul hayesh, nullification of ego, and that takes one's avodah. So the Eibishter, that's why God said, Moshe Rabbeinu says to the Jewish people, why did God bring about that He said the first 2 commandments? So we bring the concept of bittul within ourselves. Because the Eibishter created us. He knows exactly the yesh that we are. And the yesh is very, very powerful. My own yeshus is very powerful. We should never, in a way, we see people say they're humble until somebody touches them a little bit wrong. And their ego comes out very strong, sometimes very destructive. So nobody should say, I want to be challenged in my yesh, in my ego. Because lav dafka, a person might think that he's humble because nobody ever challenged his ego. But if somebody will challenge it, there'll be a very, very powerful that might come out again, that he might do things that he couldn't even imagine he would do because nobody challenged his ego. But we see that on a regular basis. That's our ego. We have all the ego, and sometimes it can be revealed in a very, very negative way. So therefore, we need to have bittul hayesh. We need to nullify ourselves to God, not nullify ourselves to others. Nullifying ourselves to God will bring us humility to others. We need to nullify. We need to realize that we are created by the Eibishter, and our existence is God. To a Jew, this even goes in the next step. The Torah was given by God. As much as we comprehend the Torah, we understand the Torah, we identify ourselves with the Torah, it's all given by God. That's really the truth. The truth of the Torah and the mitzvahs are all given by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's a merit. We have a zchus. We have a merit as a Jewish nation to receive the Torah, to be given this gift from heaven. That we have a capability to even have bittul hayesh, to nullify ourselves to God. Forget about to another person. That we have this merit to null ourselves, to do a mitzvah, to learn Torah, to connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This was the greatest merit that God gave each and every single one of us. We should cherish it. We should not only cherish it, lahagdil Torah ladida. We should enhance it. We should make it better. We should learn in it. We should expound in it. It's a source, truly a merit that God gave us. And tomorrow, starting tonight, tomorrow, we celebrate this gift, Matan Torah. We celebrate this gift that God gave the Jewish nation over 3,000 years ago. And He gives it again in Mitzvah tomorrow, again, as we read the Ten Commandments. He gives us again this gift tomorrow. We all receive this gift tomorrow. Be'ezrat Hashem, Na'aseh v'nishma. We do it, we will listen, and we will do. And let us hope that just like there was a great revelation on Mount Sinai over 3,000 years ago, will merit the Mitzvah tomorrow to another great revelation. Not only the giving of the Torah, the coming of Mashiach, which will merit to see again the revelation of God in the world. And let us hope we'll merit to that. V'mheida b'yameinu mamash. But we'll be there all together, Be'ezrat Hashem, tomorrow by Kabbalah Satira. God bless you all. I wish you a wonderful Shabbos. It's not Shabbos. I wish you a wonderful Yontiv. As the Lubavitch Rebbe would always say, to be Kabbalah Satira, we should all receive the Torah, the Simcha, with great joy. As I said, it's a great merit. With great joy, or b'pnimius, we should read the Torah in a very inner fashion. Don't only receive the Torah as an outer and an inner, b'pnimius, every person in an inner way. And that's by learning Chassidus and by learning Torah in general. I wish you all a wonderful, beautiful Yontiv, gorgeous Yontiv, happy Yontiv, a healthy Yontiv for all of us, for Jews in Eretz Yisrael, and for all the Jews around the world. I wish you all a wonderful Yontiv.
Yeshikol.